Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. Welcome to Hyphenate Halftime. This is our show for Monday, May 26th. It's Memorial Day. Mr. Aaron Farley, as always, how are you doing? As always, Mr. Farley, how are you doing? How do I say it? As always, I'm joined by Mr. Aaron Farley, my co-host, as always, such as.
Yes, as always, I'm doing fine. It's okay. It's fine.
As always, this is great.
No, I'm doing good. I've been gardening all day.
Oh,
I feel like we already had our good 5-minute conversation that might be the most interesting part of our whole hour.
And had the conversation before the conversation.
I will say
fixing the edits from the last week's show that I messed up on that Aaron Farley caught.
Well, we were talking about hosting for a second, but I was going to say that I saw some clip, and it was who was the guy on MTV who used to do it was like the show where they would have all the people in the room and he'd interview a band. It was in New York.
TRL?
TRL. Carson Daly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was watching
the person I wished I could be.
Duh. Yeah. I'm Carson Daly. But I saw it was like a news thing or someone was being interviewed and it was just Carson Daly sitting there with another host of whatever show it was. And they were kind of interviewing someone and he had a suit on. And I was like, oh man, he's stuck. The dude is like, it's a weird, he had
a show after like Craig Ferguson. He had the late
Oh, right.
Show
he had the late.
And it was all just live bands. They would like shoot the bands like sound check or something or shoot the band live in LA. And then he would like interview them sometime later that day.
That was cool.
That week or
but this was like like almost like a not MSNBC, but one of those cheesy
he's
like
on
almost
NBC
like
now. Yeah.
Like a morning show or something. What is
he's on the Today Show? Yeah.
Oh, is he on the Today Show? He's like the host.
I mean, we watched the Today Show when Shan was pregnant with the last baby a lot. So I think that was the last time
he's on it.
Hoda and Kathy were on it.
Oh, okay.
I think he was on it. Yeah, no, I think he became big. It was a big thing for him.
Yeah. Okay. So then I was watching this.
Is there a ghost behind you?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to make sure that it may be my dog trying to get in or out. I don't know.
Okay. Ghost dog.
I'll move it here just in case.
But he graduated. Yeah. Up to like now he's an official like newsman.
But I was watching him like sit there while someone was being interviewed and you could just tell like, yep, this is the trajectory. It used to be great. And now, I make a good living and I got my suit on and I have to just look the part and be the part. And because what else am I going to do? Like you get to that, like, well, you either graduate up or you get like an internal job somewhere where everyone goes, wait, are you the guy from, and you're like, yeah, I don't need that. I need the like, of course you're the guy from TRL who then moved up and is now on the Today Show. Cause that's what the guy from TRL would do unless the guy from TRL just like completely abandons everything and changes careers.
I think in the world he's definitely winning. He did the ascension from like in his 20s being on MTV to now probably in his 50s reading serious news for the morning crowd.
Yeah,
but he also but he's also on the same show as which George W. Bush's daughter. Like Jenna Bush has the same credentials that he does.
Oh, nice.
So, you know what I mean?
Well,
like just a news.
Well, it's because she got all, because she has no connections.
It's hard. She had a hard time growing up.
It was definitely, it was rough. It was rough.
The Today Show is a funny one because I watched it with my parents when I watched it with my mom, I guess, in the mornings getting ready for school. And I always remember, the people there and seemed like they're just like a slice of, life. Like that was just how you knew about the world. I watched the Today Show, and I think
and they would cut to
over the years. Brian Gumbel,
and then who's the weatherman?
Oh, Al Roker. Yeah.
Al Roker.
Yeah.
He's still the same.
I think so.
Like he got the gig like 50 years ago, and he still is just like he lost some weight, and he's still making the goofy jokes, and he's funny. Al Roker. Mm-hmm. He's like the Vanna White. He's like Vanna White a little bit.
Kind of, yeah. Took over for Willard Scott. Remember Willard Scott?
Oh, right. Did he take over for Willard Scott?
Willard Scott was Ronald McDonald when he was younger. He was like,
yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, TV, especially network TV, was a place where you could, literally just install yourself, and then you just ride that gravy train for fucking decades.
And no one expected it is weird. So I've been, I don't know. I've been thinking about all this stupid stuff that's going on in our country recently, and thinking about like the entertainment and all of these things, and going like, it used to be so much better. And then I watch an old thing like advertising and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, it was so much worse. Right? Like the advertising in the 90s and stuff for like Nerf footballs and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like what a child would make now, like the effects and the
sophistication of it.
Just just everything. And then all of those.
The Oozinator. Have you seen the Oozinator cartoon? Yes. Or the Oozinator commercial?
Yeah. Well, I was watching when someone posted the Nerf football. Like do you remember when the Nerf football, when they got the
had like a tailpiece on it?
The flying, well, before that, they put the grooves in it.
Oh, yeah.
So that it would fly farther.
Then they had the whistle that was like, installed
and then it got the whistle.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. And then they had the one with the tail, and they were like, yeah, this was the height of the height, where you'd like you'd try to throw a Nerf football like 100 yards. And they were showing the commercials, and it was mind-blowingly awful. But I remembered all the commercials. It's like the big wheel commercials and and then they would cut back to Thundercats, and I could sing the theme song and all that, and I'm like, oh right,
whoa,
oh my gosh.
And then has been unlocked in my brain.
Oh yeah. And it was, the weirdest thing was that I'm like, oh, I know where this is going. Like I know what the next song is going to be, or it's like it's already in my brain. Of like, yeah. It was very weird.
I had a pretty good routine. I probably remember around 3rd, 4th grade, I'd stay home for, coming up on summer now. It's a good time to remember. Summer break memories. Mm-hmm. Around 3rd, 4th grade, so probably 8 to 9, 9 to 10, somewhere in there. My older brother would watch me. He'd kind of be in charge of me for the summer, and then try to sleep in as late as I could. Everybody else was already at work. My brother would still be home, and then I'd watch Regis and Kathy Lee. It came out at 10 a.m.
As a 4th grader?
Yeah, it was always great. Yeah, you could see whoever was, in the news had a new movie come out, and just bad dad jokes. I loved that as a kid. I probably stayed up late the night before watching Arsenio. After
of course,
see who was on Arsenio, and then sleep in, and then wake up with Regis and Kathy Lee, and then after that, then it would go to like Andy Griffith, and then I Love Lucy. So I would just watch these like
really old,
like old, just in the middle of the day shows, because I didn't want to watch the courtroom. It wasn't Judge Judy, but something like that. It was like
oh my God, what was the first one?
Yeah, People's Court.
People's Court, where it was like it was actually people.
Judge Walker. It was definitely Walker.
Yeah, but it was so much less entertaining. What a weird. It went from that to then, but it was still.
Shut up.
You'd watch it.
Shut up. Yeah,
but then Judge Judy. And then Judge Judy just became like
yelling at people.
Oh yeah, you just got to yell and be mean, and this is what people want.
It's far more entertaining.
What were all the like Oprah, and then
Sally Jessica
Jerry
Raphael,
Springer,
Donahue. Springer. Yep. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, Springer kind of was the final sort of grossness of it, the final form.
Well, and then the weird thing was Jerry Springer he had been in politics in Massachusetts or Cincinnati. That's what it was. I was thinking Massachusetts because it was the mayor of Cincinnati, which is amazing. Because how telling that we're where we are now, and it really makes sense that because we're from really
Jerry
in a
Springer
space
to Donald Trump. I mean, Jerry Springer could have run for president.
Listen, Jerry Springer would be a much better. Like, I feel like he had a head on his shoulders,
sense of morality, maybe
a little bit, and he still liked things to be,
we're closer to like Morton Downey Jr. as like president.
Oh my God, I forgot about Morton Downey Jr. Wow, has anybody done that documentary?
I don't know.
Daytime TV crowd live. What is that called? Live
talk show? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess live talk show TV.
Pre-podcast. Do you remember Wally George?
Yeah.
And he was the dad of Rebecca De Mornay.
No.
He was more like a PB or on public broadcasting. Wally George. If you look at it's worth a Google if you have time, or listener if you have time. Wally George would like just yell at the camera. He had like white hair and a big like American flag behind him. And I think he would have callers or he'd have guests or something. But it was the height of just terrible like things. But it was on the channel 56 or whatever, it was on the big channels if you didn't have cable, like the public access kind of things. But Wally George was not.
I want to say that's not the height of terrible things. I would say that that's where the terrible things start ramping up. Maybe.
Yeah.
It had to get to. I mean, because think about now the internet is literally people, like most of the big streamers or whatever get big off of reaction videos.
Yeah.
And, no, I remember Wally George.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
Oh my God. George. Yeah. Wally George is free. He was kind of a Donald Trump type.
But he was the dad of Rebecca De Mornay.
That's what he always claimed on the show. And again, I don't know how it worked. But she's kind of yeah.
Wow.
Some kind of actress, right? But yeah, very like this.
She's like, yeah, it's my dad.
Wally George. Yeah, no, I know. This was a different time.
But this is totally Donald Trump, right?
Right, exactly.
So maybe this must be where Trump. Well, there you go. This must be where Trump kind of got his shtick from. Like
all right, you're fired.
The wrestling kind of like, I'm going to be the big bad Republican. I'm just going to tell everybody they're awful, and everyone's going to love me. Unfortunately, it works.
Oh, yeah.
The heel.
Right, exactly. But I was excited for last week's interview with with wait, how did I do
Robert?
With Robert. Now I'm like stuck in my screen here. I don't know what I'm doing.
You're like now Wally George.
Wally George
is speaking to me. I can't think anymore.
My brain has been controlled by Wally George.
Listen here.
Oh Lord. Robert Schwartzman from Rooney directed the documentary about the zombies. How familiar were you with the zombies?
Not familiar
at all. You know the time of the season?
So I know the songs. Yeah. But what I don't know if I told you this after we stopped recording last week, but that like 2 weeks ago on my Instagram, I got like an ad for the Zombies movie or whatever. Like, hey, coming out now.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, the Zombies, right? And I went and put them on my playlist and listened to the Zombies for like a week on the way.
Amazing, right?
To and from school.
Odyssey and.
Well, and even all the songs that I hadn't heard, and like
Odysseys and Oracles, that record,
yeah,
great, and all the earlier stuff, it was so good.
Yeah, so good.
It was nice enough for the company to send me a screener to watch, and it was great. It was really fun. I think if anyone's got the time to go see it or whenever it comes out on streaming, it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah, cool. There's a lot of good docs out right now. I mean, there's that one, and then
Pee Wee Herman one.
Yeah, we just started watching. We're on the second episode of that one. We started watching it last night.
It's on my list of things to watch. I'm still behind in Andor, and I feel like I'm not even a real Star Wars fan. We've just been, yeah. The time to watch things is so slim. Well,
and I was this gets it. Well, I'll say too that it is amazing when like when you're a musician, you've been playing in a band, all these things, and then you're also directing. And I know he has, he's in the know, but he's also making really great
Coppola clan.
Yeah. But this is also the interesting thing about Los Angeles is that in other towns, like you would be part of the, like if you were in the upper echelons of the town, you would be part of like the family that started the railroad in the town, or the steel company, or the newspaper, or something. And in LA, it's movies and entertainment, and so from time to time, it's very often, even little old me. And you'd be like at a show and whatever, meet people and like, oh yeah, that's the son of this person. That's the daughter. This person started a record label. And the cool thing is that a lot of the time those kids, because they come from, they have the, they have the ability, they have the inner workings at their fingertips or whatever. They they grow up on set, or they grow up in a recording studio, or that you get these kids who then, I mean, like Rooney and all, like Phantom Planet, all those bands, like when those, like they were writing great pop songs when they were like 19,
yeah,
because they'd been doing it their whole lives. And and then they, also with the movies to have the backing or whatever, but then also just to be like, no, this is like the family business, and this is what we do. Like we make movies and we make music, and I think even I saw the trailer or whatever for that Zombies movie, and even the way he talked about it and like introducing the characters one at a time and all this stuff. I mean, it's just, I think it's amazing, because I think a lot of those kids just choose to not do that. There's enough of those kids that come from like
a nepotism kind of argument,
and just party it away and don't use it for
most children of famous people aren't making things. But the fact that there's so many famous people and there's so many children, it's almost, you'd expect also some sense of like, well, yeah, why wouldn't they do it?
And there is that thing, like coming from a background and then being like, yeah, no, I have this here, and I'm going to use it to, make great work or start a record label, or, we all know those people that actually did it, and actually did it because they love it and supported a lot of the people around them and started new industries and jobs and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's very cool. It's cool to hear him, how driven he was too. And also it's like, well, we opened up for ELO, and we haven't really been playing, but we opened up for it. And I'm like, oh, epic. No, that's a real thing. That's amazing. I love that. I've been listening to a lot of ELO.
Oh my God. Right. What a great band they are.
Yeah. Amazing. But it was so cool. So I can't wait to see the movie. And it also opened me up to, because I feel like the Zombies is one of those bands that when you listen to it, I was always like, God, I've heard this. What is this? A well-known band? It's like, I never would think like, oh, the Zombies. I thought that this was Creedence or whatever, not Creedence, but like one of, like
a different kind of idea. Well, I think I was talking to somebody else, and they were saying, the record they were talking about, Odyssey and Oracle, was hard to find. It wasn't like, it was kind of a record store nerd sort of thing. It wasn't like everybody had that. I think we've talked about in the past too, about different bands and different things, or like the Sonics or something. It's like maybe someone would put on a song, or one person would have, the cool person would have the record and put it on, on a DJ set. And you're like, oh, this is a great song. Yeah. But if you didn't have the record, you weren't listening to it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like you had to, it was still from that sort of point of view where, it was a hit. Time of the Season was a hit song. It was enough to where it'd be around on oldies radio or something. But if you didn't have the records, you wouldn't know all the other deeper cuts, the B-sides, or the other things on there. And it's, in a band like that where it's like, oh yeah, they're known, but you don't, unless you're looking for it, you're not going to, you're not going to be able to pick it up. It's one of those kind of badges of coolness to have a Zombies record in your collection.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, and then what was the other band?
Which sounds so different now, because the idea of music, it was like, what do you mean? Everybody has music all the time. It's like, well, no, but I was cool because I actually had the record. Like, huh? It almost doesn't compute to today's generation. But it was.
It was hard to find on YouTube if it wasn't on Spotify. That's weird.
Yeah.
What was the other band that you said one of the other one of the members ended up being in, like a 70s band?
Oh, right. It was Argent.
Yes, and I looked them up, and I knew the top 2 songs.
What was the
song?
Hey, yeah. I just looked them up too.
But
they're in the documentary. But yeah, crazy, right? What that band and another band, like, okay,
yeah, and then it made me think of that. It made me think a lot.
Hold your head up high. Hold your head up high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what makes, and you would know this more as like a producer, studio person, microphone person,
microphone man.
That when you hear that, like when that first, I guess, maybe it's a Fender, is it a Rhodes? I don't know. He comes in with that, like, and I was like, I know exactly what year, like, you get that, like, the Kansas and going. Whatever, all of the REO Speedwagon, all of those bands, the early, that, like, it's so crazy when the whole sound just transfers to a bunch of groups at the same time. And that I don't think someone could record that now and make it sound the same. Do you think?
Well, I think people try, right? That's part of, you're dealing with, an all analog sort of, signal path, from the instruments to the microphones to the tape to the, amplifiers,
type of cords, cables.
Well, yeah, those hopefully those are more or less the same, unless it's all digital reproductions. But no, I think it's, that's part of what sounds good. That's part of what, that's, again, it's like those records, and even the Zombies records sound fucking amazing. Yeah. I think I spent some time listening to them and just going down the road and just like, obviously, it's a cliche, but Abbey Road knew what they were doing, I think it was like a kind of feeling like, but those are the high end versions of something. But even now you look back and you're like, but it doesn't sound, it still sounds, they're still bouncing down on 4 tracks or 8 tracks, they're like doubling up on stuff and committing to mixes, and some stuff sounds weird, but it's just classic. And it just does the tape thing too, where all the tape stuff gets squished together on the magnetized piece of plastic. And you just go, yep. That's what songs are supposed to sound like. It's been years and years, and now, going into decades of me trying to record, my own music or other people's music. And at some point, in the last decade, I think I realized it's like, you're not trying to get to sound good. You're trying to get to sound like good for 1965 good, or 1969 good, and part of what that does, all of those tape machines, all those analog machines, it's not a whole hi-fi as much as they want, advertises hi-fi for the time, but like what we have now in a digital spectrum, when things sound bad or things sound too digital, it's because they have all of the spectrum of frequency available to reproduce that they didn't have, before 1990.
Yeah.
And so your first thing you want to do, and if you're looking to make records that sound like that, is to just dial off a lot of high end and then also a lot of low end, because there's a certain frequency response that tape has. So you can, and there's lots of ways to emulate, with like plugins and things or other types of processing of stuff to make it sound like tape. But even just quick EQing, you kind of do a big chunk of the work of just getting all those stuff that sounds, those modern sounding things, I guess. But
yeah.
But it's incredible. But same with film, Some film speed, film stock, film thing, like lenses, real lenses do different work, and lens, like light going through a lens, hitting a piece of emulsion on film. being processed in a chemical bath and then exposed to another piece of thing to make a positive or all of the things you do to create that image is very different than light sensors on a microchip and processors and illuminated screens,
Yeah, totally. No, I know. And I used to get into that with people that would and I think obviously musicians are this way too, of like that you can go down the gear wormhole of like, well, I don't know. Yeah, you got I don't know. How many times did they wrap the pickup with, how many
wire, of course.
whatever.
It's huge.
The photography can be the same thing of like, well,
it's ground glass. It was only ground in one place.
Elements are there, and how is it created? Who made the glass? Like all these things. And then I just always was like, yeah, but all the photos that you love are from like 1968, and it was maybe a Leica, maybe. And even if it was a Leica from the 60s, which they did not even have close to the technology to make glass like they do now.
Yeah.
And all of these things, like all of that would be considered like, quote unquote sharp.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you looked at it on digital, like that was the biggest thing.
Right.
The biggest thing,
playback or your ability to take in the media too is so different.
Well, and the problem with digital at the beginning was when they started making these big sensors, and the sensors were so big that they showed how crappy the lenses were. Because I guess like you were saying before with tape, the tape squished everything. So it was like you didn't have every single detail. It pulled the details together in this kind of warmth, and film does that same thing, right? It's grains of silver, and so so it's not perfect. It's not in a perfect grid, so it kind of squishes everything together. So you didn't quite get all of the weird. I'm going to forget all the terms for it now, but
it's the imperfections that ultimately create the character of the piece that goes into the thing. You go, this just looks better or looks beautiful or
and that's why everything feels like with film a lot of times, like the biggest place that you see the difference is in the highlights, like highlight to shadow, where it's really contrasty in digital usually. And so, what film did is it just it didn't have enough detail. So it always it rolled off on that highlights really well. And you think of those things and so we make this really amazing, make this, amazing technology. I'll say, I love digital photography, but that it showed how they just had to redo all the technology for the lenses after that, because the lenses would do this chromatic aberration thing and there'd be purple around all the highlights, and because the lenses, the glass wasn't made well enough. So they had to do a whole thing to okay, now we have to make all these lenses more perfect and so that it can look like film.
What's fun though is that again, then that aberration becomes another choice in the tool belt.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Someone's anything that stands out, it will become someone's favorite thing later. They're like, oh, it looks horrible. You could see all this, all that. It's like, well, no, that's style. In the time, you know what I mean? You're just a few years after the thing, but hold on to it, because then in 20 years or 15 years, whatever it is, it's going to come back around, and then that's going to be the style. Like, oh, I want one of those things.
Yeah,
and it's you couldn't give those away.
Yeah, buying old lenses to get the super flare, lens flare, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. If you're J.J. Abrams, you're going to put these digital lens flares on everything.
You got it. It's so funny. Okay, speaking of movies, hold on.
Yes,
I got a question for you.
Oh, okay. I love this.
Political question.
Okay. Oh, I thought it'd be about movies.
It is. It is about movies.
Got it.
But I was thinking.
Yeah.
With all of the superhero movies that we've all
Marvel corner,
the Marvel, but all the superheroes, Transformers, everything, has it gotten the population to think that only like the kind of wealthy technological thing can save us. That like government is not enough. Because I keep thinking of this thing that I just heard some people talking last week, and it sounded very much like they were talking about a movie.
It was news.
Of like, well, government, what does government even do? Like they can't save us from this. They can't, like, we need like a real thing. Like we need to burn it down. We need a new thing to come in and just change everything. And I was like, they're just talking about or actually, no, not Star Wars. The Star Wars is different because Star Wars has a whole rebel, a force, and like a government and a big group of people that believe a thing and they're going to like take over a thing. But like the Marvel movies is like 1 to 5 people saving everything, and they're always they only have their powers, but they're powers that nobody else has, and nobody else knows how they got them, or if they do, it was like some mischievous, like some way, or and then everybody hates them, but they redeem themselves by saying, sure, we're going to destroy a bunch of stuff, but trust us at the end. Right. And I just started thinking like, wait, is this like what Trump had, like when he had like all 5 of the dudes behind him? Like they're like Iron Man. What and dudes? They're all saying, well, like Musk, Elon Musk, and Tim Cook, and remember when when he had all of the heads of the companies behind him at the thing, and I was like, oh no, are people like really just hardwired now into this kind of superheroes? We need a superhero to save us instead of this slow, measly, boring legislature that it just takes too long to make any of these. Yeah. And you're like, really? The healthcare system? You think that someone's just going to come in and save us from this?
Yeah. Well, no doubt there's 100% an infantilization, of mass culture with, the rise of superheroes, because the superhero myth, for better or worse, is for children. This is what kids want to believe, or that thing, if I had powers, I would just stand there and I could take out all the bad guys and make sure all the good guys got what they wanted. And it's like, well, but who's to say who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? How are you a good guy? What makes you think you're not a bad guy? And but beyond that too, it's the idea that someone's going to come along and save you. Save me, Superman. And I think it's based on your parents. Like your parents are basically superheroes to you until you get to a certain age. So you're about 7 or 8 or 9, 10, whatever that is. Is that you're just waiting for someone to save you. Like, oh, I fucked up. Like I skinned my knee. I broke my arm. Someone's going to come over and swoop me, literally pick me up off the ground and take care of me and make me feel better and kiss it. And everything's going to go become better. Yeah. And then, then you get to a point in your life where you're like, oh, that's not going to happen. And there's all these other things. But I think that we've as a culture, we're all waiting for the person to save us, waiting, like the Flaming Lips song, just waiting on a Superman, right? There was this whole thing. It's not good culturally. Ultimately, I think because the idea being that if you believe it, or if you hold these things to be true, that it's not going to work. Really, but it's also someone like a Superman can also be used as a religious icon, whether it's like a mono myth of Jesus Christ, one man, part human but also part God, comes from somewhere else, but he's of here, but he's from Smallville, but he's from somewhere else, and but he has all the powers, and if you believe in him, he'll save you and bring you to eternal life, in heaven. Yeah. It's not, again, the comic books didn't invent this idea of a super person and mass, controlling mass cultures through myth making and, religion as, the opiate of the masses, this kind of thing. Everyone wants a good story. I don't know. Yeah. There's precedent for it all along the way, but I do think it's not particularly good now. And I think technology as as a deity isn't good, but it sort of works its way too. You know what I mean? We all have those types of, I don't know, celebrities or deities. I mean, we don't live in even as a Western society based on Judeo-Christian sort of values or morals or whatever. We still have this like pantheon of gods that we are cast and recast every year. Through celebrities. Here's our god of love. Ooh, everything. Because I look at this person and then there's feelings of amorousness, and here's their god of trickster, the mischievous god. And I think we play these things up, and that's why we're obsessed with this kind of culture. We don't have a royalty system, but we do have a caste system, and we do have a class system, and I think we play those same stories out and the same sort of things large. So I don't know, I think the film thing is just, it's another part, I mean, whatever you get out of it. I think I love escapism. I think I have a what do you call it, like a coping mechanism, where I just want to just tune out for a while. So I think that sort of served me well in my life. And so it's like, oh, this is a movie, yay! And at the end, I clap, and I've eaten fat and salt and sugar. That I'm happy, and I won the day, and it's all great. So
no, I'm the same. I'm the same way too, and I don't want it to feel like, oh, this is horrible. Right. Like superhero movies, whatever. But it did make me think of like, wow, all of those major movies that we watch now are kind of that like savior story
complex
or whatever, the savior complex, or also that there's like one bad guy.
Right.
Or woman. And it's not like, hey, there's a whole country. And I think that this is where it's different than Star Wars. Like Star Wars is like, oh no, we have like, there's a Death Star out there, and there's a whole society.
But they all crumble. Once you take out one of them, you take out them the whole thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's one of my favorite scenes in sci-fi movies, is where you take out the head, the one leader brain, and all the other things just fall around the world. No one can operate without the leader, the Omega.
Right. That is true. That
never happens. Man,
that's funny.
But I think entertainment ultimately, like it's always done. I was just talking with our 11-year-old about this. Is it reflects the fears and concerns of whatever the society is. You know what I mean? That's good films, or films that resonate or that do well, I think usually hold up some kind of mirror. And that's what horror films. It's like, what are people scared of today? In the 50s, it was the nuclear fallout and the atomic age of stuff. And what hell have we unleashed on the earth? But what if we made it about giant ants? Oh, okay. Okay. That's more palatable. And then all we need to do is take them out with this thing, or aliens are coming, and it's a xenophobia sort of play out. It's been ad nauseum. You can go. But I think now, if you want to know what people are concerned about or what they're scared of, look at what the horror movies are, that kind of tell you culturally where the fears or concerns are of that place. I have to say the geezer teaser has been my favorite new genre, post Taken and Liam Neeson, with all of our favorite action heroes from the 80s and 90s as they age into becoming grandpas. Yeah. They get these, revenge fantasy films. It's great.
Wait, I don't really know about this.
You don't know about the geezer teaser?
No.
Geezer teasers are great. They're basically red. If you've ever seen a red box inside of a supermarket, or these red box places, it's just cover art, and and they usually get the guy. It depends on the level of it, but normally what was happening, it's kind of what poor Bruce Willis was having done. He'd get $1 million for a day of shooting. He'd shoot all of his scenes in one day, and then the rest of the team, would finish the movie off for $50,000. And it's a really low budget film, but you can put Bruce Willis on the cover, and then you can put it in a red box. Wow. That's the low side of the geezer teaser. But the high side, is something like Taken or Equalizer, Denzel Washington, or John Wick, or Bob Odenkirk has one, Nobody 2 is coming.
Really?
But Liam Neeson's great. I mean, I kind of put on Liam Neeson and Taken, because then he's done that same version for like the last 7 films or 10 films he's done.
Right. That Taken film is good.
Fucking great. The first one is great.
Yeah. See, those are I can't do horror movies. I can't. I'm not like that. Lila loves horror movies. I can't do it, but I do like a good suspense, like freak out, like make your heart race.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, it's like a similar thing, like a lot of jump scares and stuff, but not You don't have the gore and the clown in the sewer and all that.
So
I don't need any of that.
One of my favorite theories I've gotten from watching these old man revenge films is basically if you can watch it in the same way as you would watch a horror film, like a slasher film from the 80s, like Jason or Freddy or Michael Myers, except instead of your point of view being with the babysitters who are getting chased through the house, you're siding with Jason and Michael Myers. So like John Wick is basically, Michael Myers on steroids. Like he could kill everybody. He goes there, but you're on his side and you want him to kill everyone. Or like Denzel Washington as the Equalizer is Jason with a machete. Like they go into a dark house, but those are bad guys. Those are kidnappers and whatever Albanian gangsters. And so you put one man with a superhuman set of murdering skills and no fear of chopping people's heads off, and then just let him go loose on a set of kidnapping Albanians. And he just but you get the same joy of like, oh, the thrill of the cut. Like, oh, he just chopped his head off. Oh, he kicked that guy, he kicked a spear through that guy's chest and just shot him 40 times with a shotgun. Oh no. And then you did this, but it's just really, it's turned your empathies towards what if the slashers were the good guys?
What if I was killing all of the bad guys?
Right.
I was doing versus all of the things.
I was the good guy getting chased by a supernatural bad guy. What if I was just the bad guy and killing or what if I was the murderer? Yeah, exactly. You get it. It's a transference of point of view, which if you watch any of those movies, that's exactly how they are. They literally, you could just change the music, change the scene, put a hockey mask on any one of these old guys. And it's just a slasher film. And that's the thing.
Just from the other perspective. I've never seen John Wick. Michelle and I were talking about that. We've never seen it.
I started
or any of them. Whatever they.
I started with John Wick 3. I just randomly like everyone keeps saying these John Wicks are good. So I went to the theater when it was out, and it was like a skate film. Or like a motocross or a snowboard film or something. We're just there's these really thin kind of like storylines. Like, oh no, I have to get to this other building. And it gets to the other building and there's just like, it's filled with assassins and ninjas. Like, okay, I got these guns and this bulletproof vest. But then it's just a stunt reel. It's like directed by stuntmen, written by stuntmen, performed by stuntmen. And so it was his, I think if I know it right, I forget the names, but it was his stunt crew, his stunt coordinator and a stuntman from the Matrix series. Okay. Basically pitched him the first John Wick, like we can make this for $5 million. And if you're in it, we'll get a green light and we can just go do this. But really he's not even in it that much because it's so many stunts. They're basically his stuntman he rolls around looking sweaty and cut up. They put some blood on him, and then and then he says one or two lines. I guess I'm back. Oh, you killed my dog. But he's in a lot of it. He does do a lot of his own stuff, or he looks like, at least you see his face on stuff, and I'm sure he got a broken rib or two somewhere in there. But they're incredible. They're just like stunt reels. It's amazing. It's like those Hooper was a good one. What was the guy in the 70s with Burt Reynolds had his stunt guy. It was like stunt driver direct movies for like Smoking the Bandit, which is his stunt driver. Yeah, it's great. And that's where they're fun. And they just designed all these things and like, it'll just be fun to see. And in between, we'll put you winking at the camera and kissing, what's her name? It's Gidget. Yeah. So good. I love Smoking the Bandit too. But anyway, John Wick's great. You should start with John Wick 3 though. I'm just telling you, like, it doesn't matter. They killed his dog and now he's the boogeyman. And then if you watch 3 and then if you dig it, then you can go back to 1 and 2 and then 4 and then now Ballerina or something. But I was hooked. I was like, this was so much fun. It was so absurd. Like he's running, he's on a horse on the Brooklyn Bridge with ninja assassins on motorcycles chasing him. And from his horse, he's able to.
Amazing.
Just that scenario. Imagine that. It's in the middle of the night. Everyone's got neon lights all around them. And they're motorcycles, ninjas with swords, and him on a horse with a machine gun.
So it's like really violent Born Identity with no story.
Yeah.
With like a lack of less story.
Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah. You don't have to worry about any real big story. They do cut away to like, steampunk type of like assassin agencies or something. There's some kind of thing that's vaguely a universe.
They're ever in a nightclub where everybody's dancing to techno?
Of course they are. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Those are the only kind of movies I go to see. So as long as there's one of those scenes in it,
you know what? They even go to a museum of weapons to where there's nothing but glass cases filled with weapons and blades and swords and knives. And so they just punch each other and break the cases and grab more. It's like a video game. Like they're just re-upping their weapon count. And they're throwing guns at people's faces, and they have bulletproof suits, and bullets never hurt him. He just puts his suit over his face. It's amazing.
I love those. This is again.
It's a very good way to pass an hour.
I love Hollywood in a lot of ways, because you know that it's just some people sitting in a room going, like you shouldn't be on a motorcycle though. You should be on a horse, and then everyone goes, "Whoa, that's hilarious." Yes, okay, he's gonna be on a horse. I know a horse guy. Yeah, okay,
exactly.
Call Carl, see if he's got any horses. We're shooting in 2 weeks.
It probably goes the other way around. Like, hey, we have a horse guy. What can we do with the horse guy? We already got the horse guy in.
He did me a deal on my last movie, and I told him I'd put him in my next one.
Yeah, that's how those Mission Impossible movies are made. It's like they pick the stunt, or they get a location. They get okayed for a location, and they come up with a stunt for it, and then they write a movie around the big stunts.
Let's drop a car out of an airplane.
Yeah.
And you're still driving it. That's never been done before, right? Nope, Check if that's been done before. No, it hasn't been done before.
Yeah. And where was that going to fit? Somehow they got to get the rabbit's foot.
That'll take up 18 minutes. We're good. We're good with that.
Yeah.
And we're good. We have clearance, because as long as you're up in the air, you don't have to worry about a permit.
You spend 6 months, setting up the stunt, and then the other 15 days shooting the rest of the movie.
Oh my God, I love it. I do want to know. Are there any good podcasts that are about the writers' room of these movies, like how these things? I don't know. I feel like you would.
Someone should write us in. Yeah, no, I haven't. I like Action Boys, which is for kind of like comedian and comedy writers talking about 80s and 90s like action films.
Okay.
Action Boys is good. But in terms of the writer's room, I used to followed a couple of writers podcasts, but they who was it? There was a couple of good ones, but it was I think they would get busy and they'd do other stuff.
Yeah,
there's the greatest movies never made was a good writers one. It was from one of the writers of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, and he would just talk about. I think they're on a hiatus now, but they would talk about like films that never made it to or through production.
And so like scripts everybody read, but
yeah. And so that was a really good series. It was hosted by the guy that wrote the Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the guy that made the Jodorowsky Dune documentary.
Oh, wow.
One of the most famous sort of movies that never got made. Do you know about this one?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, the documentary is great. It was one of my favorite ones. I bought it on the Apple iTunes, so it like sits there. If you look at like movies to watch, so the kids have all their Alvin and the Chipmunks and Despicable Me's, and there's just like Jodorowsky's Dune. And I was like, do you kids want to watch that tonight? They never do.
Like no. That is amazing. Speaking of movies again, when I went to search, because when you were interviewing Robert, that when he was like, I've directed 5, this is my 6th. And I was like, ooh, okay, I'm going to search. And then I realized that he was more known as an actor, that he was in like a bunch of, what was he in? 10 Things was it 10 Things I Hate About You? No.
I don't know.
But it was some early 2000s, like late 90s movies. And I didn't know that. And then I looked and I'm like, oh, that's the guy. I didn't realize.
Right? He's the guy.
He was like acting. He was in Rooney.
He's done a lot of music.
Like directing.
He's done a lot of music for things as well. Yeah.
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 Cool.
He was in The Virgin Suicides.
Oh,
Princess Diaries.
Princess Diaries. That's the one I was looking at. Yeah. And I was like, who was he in Princess Diaries? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, of course. That good looking fella. But yeah, that was funny. It's awesome.
But yeah, I know. I feel like this podcast could very easily turn into a movie podcast. Without
It could mostly be me saying dumb stuff and then you going, well, actually, let me tell you, I was listening to, I actually have the answer to that.
Oh my God. I feel like I listen to mostly movie podcasts. I'm very like, I have 6 or 7, but mostly about bad movies, which is some of the funnest stuff.
Oh, that's a good one. I've always listened to kind of interview podcasts, and I'm running out a little bit. And so, and then I was on political ones for a while, but now I just can't.
I liked your conspiracy ones you were on for a while. When Courtney Love was part of the CIA. That was great.
Yes. I should probably look that one up again. They always did. But then it would get into these
Joe Rogan-y pretty quick.
They didn't get Joe Rogan-y, but they got like, they were really into like harsh, like murderers and stuff. And it's like, I didn't want to listen to that stuff. I like the CIA stuff. I liked the, anything to do with the atomic bomb, aliens, like Area 51, gravitational forces, that kind of thing.
That's good stuff.
But then half of those podcasts started going, then it was like child,
abduction,
rings,
trafficking and stuff.
Child trafficking rings. And then it was Hillary Clinton. And then, it went that way. And I was like, oh God, they're all going to really, okay.
Conspiracy.
There's another
theories.
one. I'm like, yes, I've heard all these. And I have to say it sounds very implausible to someone who is so busy to be involved in also pizza parlors and whatever else was.
We played Comet Ping Pong 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it's great. There's no basement. There's no basement at the Alamo. It's like Pee Wee Herman.
Also, it was proved by the guy who tried to break into the basement, and there was no basement.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a loading dock where where bands can load in, but it's very much not a basement as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
No, I know. But, it's a funny one.
I was real into those for a while. Yeah. I was into those. I was into space. I was into a little bit. I liked a good, like, people like thinking that dinosaurs were fake. I just love hearing that, listening to that. Like, birds aren't real. That's a good one. I do love but then I loved those forever. It all started with Art Bell, right? I feel like
of course.
So many people, it was like Sunday night, Art Bell, and you wanted to believe all of it. It was like someone coming in like, I just did a mind transformation and I was walking through Russia and I was in the, in the Kremlin just 20 minutes ago. And he's like, wow, tell me more.
But that's the thing with his though, right? He would just have like a different voice on the other line. Both sides of the call, or who was that?
That was Nori. No, not Nori. Oh, that guy was amazing.
Art Bell, but the other guy, the guy that would do both sides of the call and like, and
then
people
George,
would call up. Not Wally George. No.
No.
But people would call up and be like, that guy's a moron. And then they'd get on the other phone, like, you can tell me I'm a moron. Like, hey, guys, we're just trying to just take it easy here. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, hey, we're just hearing him out. We're just guys, everyone's got an opinion.
Listen, man, this is just a radio show.
But then people would do both sides. He'd be the caller and the host.
He was genius. Dude. What was his name?
I don't know. I thought it was Art Bell. No.
Art Bell was only like Aliens, and he was. I mean, he really was, I would say, the father of conspiracy kind of radio, because he would, the greatest thing about him is that he had I don't remember him having an opinion. His whole thing was that he would have people call in and they would just tell their story, and he would go, fascinating. And that was kind of Phil Hendry. Yeah.
Phil Hendry.
He was the one that would do all the voices.
Yeah.
But Art Bell would just be like, he'd be like, that is fascinating, and it was all aliens. It was abductions. It was crop circles. It was what's it called when you go, like, out of body experiences.
Oh yeah.
What's it called when you like can get your mind to travel
Telepathy.
to other countries, astral projection. It was like, it was all of that kind of stuff. And he would just take callers, and the callers would go, Art, last night I was out in my field and I felt I saw a light, and he would just, and you would listen to these people's stories for like,
but you don't think these were written?
That
Do
is
you think
amazing.
These are real people calling in?
I mean,
maybe. You don't think he had a writer's room?
Probably.
Write these things up.
But it started it started like UFO, like people getting so into it. And then, this was like the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s. And then he disappeared. And Art it was Bell this
disappeared?
It was like he had to like quote unquote take time off, and he wouldn't tell anybody what was happening. Damn. And then this other guy, George Norrie, who was like his assistant or his he was like the engineer or something in there with him for a while. Then he completely took over, and then it was George Norrie, and nobody knew what happened to Art Bell, and it was great. It was amazing. But it wasn't anything past that. It wasn't like, I think they would do like Illuminati and these things, but it was very, I don't know. It was very innocent, kind of, it was fascinating. And then I feel like what happens now is that those people start that thing, and then there's the groups of people that aren't into that, or the money people, whatever, politicians, whoever's funding them, they start funding those people. And I think that's what happened. That's what happened, I think, with the whole political thing. But that, like, it's almost even like, I really felt this way with the Flat Earth thing, because it kind of came out of nowhere. And I remember the Flat Earth Society from like the 90s. That stuff would come up. Even if that stuff would come up on like Art Bell and stuff. But there was a legitimate Flat Earth Society forever, right? And they'd every once in a while
kooks. It wasn't
you'd
like
you'd get a pamphlet.
Never reported like, oh, this could be real.
Like someone would hand you a pamphlet, and you're like, oh my God, these people think that the Earth is flat. And when that stuff started happening on the internet, on podcasts, and then those people were starting to get interviewed by some of the people I was listening to, and I was like, this seems weird. And it's like, it's a goof. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait, they're kind of treating this like it's not a goof. And what I feel like happened is there was enough of those people, and there was marketers are geniuses. And there was someone who went, okay, we have an in to a bunch of people that will believe anything.
We have a whole captive audience of dummies here.
We're 3 years from another election.
Hillary's laptop.
Yeah, we're 4 years from an election. We can figure out a way to get all of these people in a group, and slowly, and like we'll phase out the flat Earth thing eventually. But what we'll do is get them onto these other things, and then we'll get them onto something else that's a little bit more like, oh, well, if you believe flat Earth, because the government definitely is not telling you, we're going to tell you that the moon landings, or actually it probably started with moon landings are fake, right?
Sure.
So started with that, then it's flat Earth, then it's space is not real, like it's all, we're in a dome, and all these goofy things, and then that started going into child endangerment, and it started going into all of these other things, and then all the other stuff goes away, and then now you have this really strong group of people that believes that the government would do anything to trick you, and that as if the government is like one thing, like a
sure
thing.
So, like even the so you got to vote for this guy in the government because he wouldn't do the things to trick you.
Well, because he is
the government.
Trying
right.
to,
he's not from the government.
He's trying to fly in like Superman and save you from these people who are also telling you that the Earth is round. And if they're telling you the Earth is round,
then
if they're telling you the Earth is round,
they're trafficking children
and trafficking children, what do you think they're doing with your taxes? Or whatever.
Sure.
And it's this goofy ball
just
of
Fox News.
knowledge.
I mean, but if you put the trappings of it, it looks like real news. It looks like
oh my God,
real life.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I mean, is the Earth round? You know what I mean? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
The best thing is though, there have been a couple things that when they take the flat earthers like, okay, come on, we're going to take you out to this part on the ocean and we're going to put up a big stick. And as we go away, you're not going to be able to see the stick anymore. They're like, I'm going to be able to see it. And then they go over the boat and it's like a couple miles and they're like, where'd the stick go? Like, and they go, wait, that shouldn't work. And they're like, yeah, but if the earth is round, and they're like, right. Okay. Yep. All right.
Yeah. What was the list? Yeah. It's one of these Neil deGrasse Tyson things. It was that if you're in a really tall building, like, Burj Khalifa or somewhere, or the World Trade Center, that it was, the sun would set at different floors because of, taller floors would get more sun. It's
right.
Otherwise, if it was flat, it would all set at the same time.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things.
People go, well, but
it's depressing when it's so easy to, but again, that's that thing of like, oh no, now we've just got caught up in like a idiot's like, let's just run around thing. Like, oh, I might poke. It's like whack-a-mole. Like, okay, well here I'm gonna say something else really stupid. And how long is it gonna take you to tell me that that's not stupid?
Yeah. Why prove to me that building is real?
Why am I even doing this here? Now I'm in this whole conversation here. And I was like, I've just validated everything you're going to say by even starting a conversation with you where we just be like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I don't believe science. I heard the best thing. It was like, they're like, I don't even believe science. And then someone's like, congratulations, you're a scientist. That's the point.
Right.
Is that they're all theories and you have to test it. Yeah. But the thing is, you don't just get to say you don't believe it. You have to try to prove it. Yeah. You have to try to prove it wrong.
Right.
That's the other part. That's the other side you're missing.
No one's expecting you to blindly just believe things. That's the whole point of it, right? Yeah. You got to test it or do research.
Yeah.
Do your own research. Yeah. Wild, man. All right.
Oh, well, I do my own research.
Good. That was, we have a good week. Summer's upon us. Hope everybody's having a good Memorial Day out there. You can write us hyphenatehalftime@gmail.com. You can find Aaron on the Instagram at Aaron Farley. I'm on there at Randy S. Randall. And let us know your favorite conspiracy theories. Let us know.
Yeah.
How do you know the Earth's not round? Tell us your
I want to know why
Wally George episodes.
And I want to know why no one talks about crop circles anymore. It was such a big thing.
Where did all the crop circles go?
Where did all the circles go?
Where do they go, Bart? Where do they go?